must have heard some people say, don't overthink your mistakes because no one else cares about them. Only you care about them. I often hear people make this well-intentioned statement, and they say it because they want you to feel liberated. But the thing is, although it sounds nice, it's not always true. Perfectionists fear mistakes because many people do judge, they do critique, and they do nitpick, especially in today's climate and today's world. You're not imagining it. And acknowledging this reality is important. One of the biggest underlying fears behind making a mistake is fear of rejection. And that fear can be and is very real, especially because there was or might still be a time where your acceptance and approval depended on your performance and getting it right. But a game changer for me that I've helped my clients with wasn't focusing on whether people cared or didn't care about my mistakes. That stopped being what I even paid attention to. It was actually about taking my gaze off the external altogether and moving it internal. Their reactions, whether good, bad, or indifferent, became irrelevant. Because remember, if you live by people's praise, you'll die by their criticism. The aim is for your well-being to become independent from both. Today, I'm sharing 3 practical ways to become completely indifferent to how others react to your mistakes. When you make a mistake, your brain might immediately start spinning stories. It might start saying things like, they think I'm incompetent, I've ruined everything, they'll never trust me again. And the reality is that this response often stems from some negative past experiences. The reason it's important to acknowledge this is it helps you establish what I call your truth anchor. Your truth anchor is an internal statement that reminds you of who you are regardless of external responses, whether that response is good, bad, or indifferent. This becomes the dialogue you focus on. The dialogue between you and you, not what other people might be thinking about you or speculating on the dialogue they could be having with themselves about you. But we can't form a truth anchor that truly resonates with us and gets to the heart of why we fear failure unless we acknowledge the real situations that contributed to us having them. The key is to create one that doesn't just sound good, but one that exposes your unhelpful thoughts and feelings and why you have them. When that wave of shame or panic hits after a mistake, you can return to this truth anchor. So, when you make a mistake that others see, what immediate thoughts flood your mind? What story do you tell yourself about what they're thinking? And what does this tell you about the limiting rules you've created for yourself when it comes to making mistakes? Also consider what would free you from whatever rule you've created because of your past experiences. And how can you incorporate future growth and hope into the statement? For instance, mine is, I don't try to be perfect. I learn by doing and I get better each time. I have this because the rule in the prison I realized I had created for myself was that when I made a mistake, I would face harsh punishment or people would see me as incompetent. And I only had one chance to get it right. The truth is, I have many chances. And these aren't set by others, they're set by me. One of my clients uses, those who are worth keeping around love me unconditionally and let me make mistakes. I do the same for those I love. The rule she had created was that people would love her less and withdraw from her because they no longer valued her. And we were able to identify the experiences that this had actually come from. You see, you don't need to wait for people to tell you they don't care about your mistakes before being liberated. You can liberate yourself with these truth anchors. A concept linked to this truth anchor approach is called having an internal locus of control, which is the belief that external forces do not determine your outcomes, your personal actions do. Having an internal locus of control fundamentally shifts how you perceive yourself and respond to life's challenges. In this way, your truth anchor takes the power away from others who you can't control and whose thoughts you will never know, and it shifts it back to yourself, the only thing you actually can control. Write your truth anchor down. Put it where you'll see it. Say it out loud until it becomes as automatic as just brushing your teeth. They're also really good to share with people. Of course, when it makes sense to do that, but it's good to share with people because it lets them know what you're about, that you're not bound by their approval or disapproval. Sharing it with people may also encourage someone without you even realizing it. So I include reflective audits or coaching questions in many of my videos. And they're questions I ask you to give you a chance just to pause, reflect, and access your own thoughts and your own emotions in a way that gives you clarity. My first one for this video is: what truth about yourself remains unchanged whether people approve of you or not? What statement could anchor you when the mistake feels overwhelming? And how can you shift the focus of your thoughts from external to internal? Another way to become indifferent to whether people judge you for your mistakes or not is to identify and encode the learning that comes from them. You can do this in different ways, but I'll share with you the approach I've adopted and that I also use with my clients. So the first thing is to identify one concrete learning from that mistake. Not 5 lessons and not anything that requires a complete personality overhaul. Just one specific thing of value. Then next, share the lesson with someone. Our mistakes often feel purposeful and less of a big deal when we're able to either share the learning to benefit someone directly or just to help them learn as well. The third thing is to take one micro action that demonstrates you've integrated this learning. Neuroscience shows us that when you take action, even tiny action, your brain shifts from rumination to implementation, which means you literally cannot obsess about that situation and act at the same time. So propel yourself into action mode. Finally, close the loop. Literally say to yourself, I've extracted the learning, I've taken action. This chapter is closed. This is about you deciding when a mistake has been fully processed. Other people's timelines just aren't as relevant. Yours is the main one that matters. My reflective audit question for you on this one is: think of your most recent mistake that you've not yet mined for its lesson. What would change if you extracted the learning and close that chapter today? The last thing is to increase your immunity to rejection. The fear behind making mistakes isn't often about the mistake itself. It's about the fear of rejection that might come from it. And for many of us, there was a time when our acceptance and approval literally depended on our performance and on us not making mistakes. Therefore, most of us avoid any situation where we might make a mistake. We perfect things endlessly. We'll stay quiet in meetings, or we don't share our real work, or perhaps we just don't take risks. We're so busy avoiding rejection that we never build immunity to it. The first time I did this, I was 16 years old. I didn't know it then, but it was called rejection inoculation. And rejection inoculation means intentionally putting yourself in low-stakes situations where people might judge your mistakes. When I was 16, I felt very limited and restricted by fear of how others would respond to me. There were things that I wanted to do and achieve, but I was just too afraid. And I talked myself out of doing or saying things that I really wanted to do or say. So I decided I was going to throw myself in at the deep end by just always doing the very opposite of what I was afraid of. I figured that surely if I just keep doing this, I'll get used to it, and doing the risky thing will just become the norm. The first opportunity came around quite quickly, actually. There was an announcement at school that we were going to be having a talent contest, almost like X Factor. So what did I do? I signed up to sing in that talent contest as a solo performer. And that is not exactly low stakes, I know. But I remember that after I did it, I felt so free, and the shell that was trying to confine me and keep me a prisoner didn't feel as strong anymore. Because I survived it. Nothing broke, I didn't die, and I felt the satisfaction of just doing it and building the courage to do it. This experience at 16 years old started my journey of years of intentional, low and high stakes exposure to situations where I could be rejected or judged. So when it comes to rejection inoculation, think of something you could start trying today. What tiny rejection could you survive that would start building your immunity? You could start with small things like posting something on social media without editing it too much, trying something new in front of others where you'll definitely make mistakes, or perhaps asking for feedback on something that isn't perfect yet. Because each time someone judges you, critiques, or even rejects your work and you survive, which you will, your nervous system learns something crucial, that rejection doesn't kill you. The goal isn't to become reckless or to stop caring about quality. It's to break the pattern where fear of other people's rejection controls your choices. My final reflective audit for you today is, if you knew that every small rejection you faced was actually building your immunity muscle and making you stronger, what would you stop avoiding today? Whether people judge your mistakes or not is their business. How you respond is yours. Next, I suggest you watch Society Demanded Your Perfectionism and Now Judges You for It, where I share how to fight against society's pressures for perfectionism. I'll see you there, but in the meantime, keep mastering what matters most.